If our citizens show support for the police, I think our police are going to feel the pride of being a police officer and give back to the community even more than what they already give.
Welcome to episode 73 of the LorainCounty.com Insights Podcast. I'm your host, Ed Skimmon. I want to take a moment to recognize the champion sponsors behind LorainCounty.com: Lorain County JVS, WOBL Radio, Lorain County Commissioners, Emerge Inc., Community Foundation of Lorain County, and Lorain County Community College. Today we're talking with Jack Bradley, Mayor of the City of Lorain. Join us as Mayor Bradley talks about Lorain's transformation from its rich diversity and industrial history to new economic development initiatives like brownfield cleanup and waterfront redevelopment. He also discusses efforts to improve community safety, collaboration with local organizations, and shares his personal journey, leadership style, and interests. I was born in Lorain at the old St. Joe's Hospital and graduated from Lorain High School. Growing up, my dad served as second ward councilman for most of my childhood. This gave me the opportunity to meet many of Lorain's city leaders. I saw firsthand both their vision for Lorain's opportunities and the reality of its challenges. Once a powerhouse of steel, auto, and manufacturing, Lorain has faced real challenges with the decline of those industries. I believe deeply in the potential of the international city, from its strong neighborhoods, churches, and people, to the revitalization of downtown, the growth of new businesses, to unlocking incredible opportunities along the lakefront. Here is my conversation with Mayor Jack Bradley.
My name is Jack Bradley, and I'm the mayor of the city of Lorain, Ohio.
Welcome, Mayor Bradley. Thanks for joining us and sharing your insights. To begin, how would you describe the character of Lorain, and what do you think makes it a unique and special place?
Lorain was a former industrial city, having the U.S. Steel operation, a shipbuilding operation, and also auto manufacturing. That certainly has changed over the years, but it brought in many people from many different countries and different nationalities, different ethnic backgrounds, different races, and we've earned the name International City because of the diversity that we have in our community. So I'd say that diversity is a primary defining characteristic of our community.
What are some of the key priorities and initiatives that you and your administration are focused on right now in the city?
Certainly, economic development is important, and to be able to do that, you need to have sites that are basically shovel-ready. Because of our industrial background, we have many sites in the city of Lorain that were contaminated. They're called brownfields, and you have to clean up those brownfields first to encourage new industry, especially some of the newer high-tech industries that come into the city. So we've reached out for federal and state grants for cleaning up of our brownfields. And we've been fairly successful in getting the cleanup money to clean up these brownfields. And hopefully, once we get them cleaned up, we'll have some economic development in our city. I've certainly had a lot of interest in the city of Lorain because we sit on Lake Erie. The Great Lakes are the largest freshwater in the world. And the economy of the Great Lakes is the third largest in the world. So having fresh water and having all the economic development around the Great Lakes, I think we're in a great location for economic development in the future.
So Lorain is pursuing an ambitious waterfront redevelopment. Talk about that and describe the effects this will have on the city's future.
We have the former pellet terminal site where they would bring in iron ore pellets to the city of Lorain. That was a brownfield. So we were able to secure state and federal grant money to clean that up, and over $6 million. But we're in the process of cleaning that up so that hopefully we get some mixed use development at the mouth of Lake Erie and on the Black River.
So Lorain comprises of diverse areas: downtown, the south side, east side, west side, where I grew up, central Lorain. How are you addressing the unique needs of each of these areas?
One of the major concerns of people in the city of Lorain is crime, especially violent crime and gun violence. Our safety service director, Ray Carrion, and I have been sitting down talking about, besides policing, which is always the number one way of addressing violent crime, how else can we address violent crime in our community? So we've come up with a 3-step plan. And the first step is to go into some of those neighborhoods that have been indicated as red areas by our police department and do cleanup activities. So our first area that we went into was around Nativity Church. We call that the Nativity District, 17th long around Nativity Church. And we took a group of people in there and we started to clean up, mow, clear out weeds and improve areas where the children come for their bus stop and just show the community that you have some pride in your area. Maybe it will lower the crime in that district. The police came in and were serving ice cream. They bought a freezer, so they scoop out ice cream. The delicatessen on the corner who prepares food, he donated food for all the people that participated in the cleanup. And so we're going to do that in different areas in the city of Lorain, just to get out there and show people that if you have pride in your neighborhood and you feel safe to walk around your neighborhood, that you can reduce crime in those areas. The second thing is we've been looking at streetlights, and we don't actually supply the streetlights in the city of Lorain. That's done by First Energy. But we found out that of the over 6,000 streetlights that we have in the city of Lorain, 500 of them were not operational. So we contacted First Energy and we said, you need to address this. We're paying you a lot of money for these streetlights, but we want to make sure that all of the streetlights are operational. And as it turns out, a lot of those streetlights were in high crime areas. We felt that maybe in some of those areas, we might even put in the more advanced LED lighting to give better lighting in those high crime areas. And then third, we thought that education is always important. And how do you educate people in the community? We felt that banners, putting up banners, showing people pride in their community, but also if you see something, report something, you can be the voice of the police. And then I actually have QR codes on the banners where people might be able to get some information about reducing crime, how to avoid maybe a domestic violence situation, how to properly secure your firearm in your vehicle, if you're going to leave it in your vehicle, those types of things. So we think that adding those precautions and efforts in our community, that we can actually help the police to reduce violent crime and gun violence in our community.
Speaking of the police, as we record this, we're just over a month removed from the tragic attack that claimed the life of Lorain officer Philip Wagner and injured officers Pete Gale and Brent Payne. How are the city and the police department holding up, and in what ways have you seen the community rally to support them?
There's no doubt that the community has come together. We forget the peril that our police are put in on a daily basis, and we just never know when a police officer is going to be attacked. In this case, it was an ambush. It was by someone who no one suspected would do such a terrible crime. Our police were caught off guard. So even though they wear bulletproof vests, they have weapons, that didn't protect them from someone who wanted to do violence to a police officer or just an ordinary citizen. I think that the community has a new respect for our police officers. They certainly support our police officers. There's been many efforts of fundraising. The food that was brought into our police department was overwhelming. They had so much food, they didn't know what to do with it. So they had to give it to maybe some of the places that actually needed the food. But I think our police officers feel new respect from the community, but it also has encouraged them to get out there and interact with the community. I think it's a two-way street. And if our citizens show support for the police, I think our police are going to feel the pride of being a police officer and give back to the community even more than what they already give. So it's been a negative thing as far as having our police officers killed and injured, but it's been a positive thing in seeing the community come together.
When you talk with residents, what common concerns do they raise, and what positive feedback and ideas do they share?
I think that the concerns are always about crime, about the streets, that they always feel that the streets aren't being maintained, that there's too many potholes. And certainly when we have harsh winters, it causes our street crews to have to be out there plowing, and the plows are going to cause some damage to the streets. And then in March, we start getting the calls about the bad conditions of the streets. But we have to realize that there's a separation of power in government, and the city council is the appropriating authority. In other words, they appropriate a certain amount of money to be used for city services. And then the administration has to use that money as best it can to take care of the problems and issues. So we can go to council, we can ask them for additional money. Sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't get it, but we try to use the money as wisely as we can to do all the different functions that we have to accomplish in the city. We're a service-oriented entity. For the most part, our city delivers services to the community. I can understand that the citizens want to have those services delivered. Sometimes it's not always to their satisfaction, but we certainly listen to them and try to address the needs of the community as best we can with the funds that we have available that are allocated to us from City Council.
As you know, Lorain City Schools is a critical part of the community, and I'm a proud graduate of Lorain High School. How does the city collaborate with and support the schools?
I grew up in the city of Lorain, and I actually taught in the Lorain City Schools for 5 years. So I know what it's like to be a teacher. I know what it's like to interact with our young people. I try to get into the schools as much as I possibly can, and not only to the Lorain City Schools, but also the charter schools in our community. I read to the children. I've done social studies classes, tried to interact on current events with the students. And we've had some good cooperation with our Lorain City Schools. The Campana Park Pipe Yard area. I had heard that the Lorain City Schools were thinking about building their own baseball and softball fields. I reached out to the schools and I said, hey, maybe we should work together and really build something great at Campana Park. And so we reached out for a grant, and we received a couple $1 million grant for the improvement of Campana Park. The city put in a couple $1 million. The schools put in a couple $1 million, and we were able to build a new softball field, improve the pipe yard, put in artificial turf in both infields, improve the other ball fields in the Campana Park area. And it's turned out to be a plus for both the city of Lorain and for the Lorain City Schools. So I think working together is an important thing. And we're hoping that maybe our legislature will start a cadet program where they actually encourage young people to learn about police and fire work while they're in high school and transition into being cadets between the ages of 18 and 21 when they can't really work for the fire department or the police department.
Sure.
And then by the time they get to be 21, they're ready to go. And we get residents, young people from the city of Lorain to be first responders.
Speaking of partnerships, what's your approach to partnerships? How do you collaborate with other local leaders like the Port Authority, neighboring mayors, county commissioners, community organizations?
I've been lucky. When you become the mayor, you're not a Democrat, you're not a Republican. You have to work across the aisle and try to work together with the different political groups. I've certainly had a good relationship, I think, with the Port Authority. We tried to help them with their stage project that is starting this September. And so the city was able to put in some money. I met with the county commissioners and they put in matching funds. Same thing with our racetrack project. We have this go-kart track that's opening up in the city of Lorain on a former landfill. It would have just sat there for years and years with no development. But because the county commissioners were willing to partner up with the city of Lorain and give some money for that project, we're getting a 12 million plus project on a former landfill in the city of Lorain. I think that working together is very important. And then you have to have also some private partners too. So like we work with Skylift. Dr. Nick Jarmasic and his sons started that business in the city of Lorain, and it's been a growing business. And they've actually taken a option on our industrial park that we built off of Colorado Avenue. And they've been talking with developers regarding some development in the industrial park, and the city of Lorain is working with them. So we believe that these public-private partnerships are very important for economic development in our city. So I feel really blessed that I've had a good relationship with our county commissioners. I know that Commissioner Gallagher wants to concentrate on the city of Lorain and the former Republic Steel site. He feels that is a site that could be developed with some cooperation, and we've been working with Republic Steel to get some development there. And then Commissioner Moore with our VIA program, which is the microtransit, where for $2, people can get transportation not only in the city of Lorain, but in the city of Elyria. And it's been a very positive program. I think the satisfaction rate has been over 95%. And we were able to continue that program this year with the help of Lorain and Elyria adding some seed money to the program to keep it going. So been some good partnerships, and we hope to continue with that.
From your perspective, what do you see as the biggest opportunity for Lorain moving forward?
High-tech companies are interested in the city of Lorain. The big thing is power. So we talked to Republic Steel and told them that if there's going to be development on the Republic Steel site, they need to determine how much power can be brought into that site. So they worked with First Energy to obtain a load study to see how much energy can be brought into Republic Steel. It's a 6-month process. It's costing Republic Steel a lot of money to do that, but they're into the 4th month of doing that load study. We're hoping that within the next 2 months, we'll find out how much power can be brought into Republic Steel, that site, and hopefully have some economic development in that area. It takes time. It takes a lot of work. Government works slowly, but I've been trying to clean up the St. Joseph's Hospital site for a number of years, and we were finally able to secure a $6.5 million grant from the Department of Development here in Ohio to clean up that site. But the city of Lorain doesn't own St. Joseph's Hospital. We never owned it. And so we had to deal with private owners of that property, and we finally got frustrated. So we went to the county prosecutor and asked them to foreclose on the property, which they did do. And then we worked with the Department of Development because one of the requirements of having that state grant money was to have the city of Lorain come up with matching funds. And the matching funds were over $1.5 million. Where do you find $1.5 million in a city that's having some economic issues? So we went and we found out through research how much money we had put into St. Joseph's Hospital throughout the years. And we offered that data to the Department of Development. And just recently, they said they would count all that money that we put into St. Joseph's Hospital throughout the years for remediation as our matching funds. So we don't have to come up with any out-of-pocket money. They've used money that we've used in the past.
Right.
And now we can move forward with the cleanup of St. Joseph's Hospital. And we hope before the end of the year, we have shovels in the ground, that parking garage taken down, and that site cleaned up for hopefully some economic development.
Let's switch over and talk a little bit about you. What's your background?
I grew up in the city of Lorain, as I said, went to Lorain City Schools, graduated from Lorain High School, the old Lorain High School, and I went to Lorain County Community College my first 2 years. Then I went to Case Western Reserve University, and I actually got my degree in political science. But my last year, I decided that maybe I needed to figure out some way to make some money. So I also got my teaching certificate. I did my student teaching my last semester at Case, came back to Lorain and got a job with the Lorain City Schools and went to law school at night. So I attended law school and got my law degree. And then I went into private practice and practiced law for 43 years, never thinking that I would be the mayor of the city of Lorain. Matter of fact, it wasn't even my goal to be the mayor. But our mayor, Chase Rittenauer, had run for re-election, won the primary, the Democratic primary, and then he was offered a job with Republic Services that collects our garbage and decided to leave the city, and the city of Lorain needed someone to run for mayor. All the usual suspects, council members, auditors, they had run for their own office in that primary, and the law in Ohio says that if you run for one office in the primary, you can't run for a different office in the general election. So they were looking for somebody to run. My cousin, Sharon Sweeta, was the county commissioner at the time, and she called me up and said, "Hey, Jack, you should run for mayor." And I said, "Sherry, I'm really not interested." And then she called my wife and my daughter, and here I am. So you know how that is. I may be the leader of the city of Lorain, but in my household, the women of my life have a big influence on me. That's how I got here.
As mayor, what are you most proud of accomplishing?
The first thing that had to happen when I came into the mayor's office was to look at the fixed rates for water and sewer. They were really high. And when I was coming to council meetings, when I decided to run for mayor in 2019, the council chambers were filled with people complaining about the fixed rates for water and sewer. I did a deep dive and looked at the studies that warranted those raises and thought maybe there's a different way to do it. Water rates are controlled by the safety service directors. So I went to the safety service director at the time and I said, I think that we can roll back those rates to the 2017 rates. And let's go to council and ask council to roll back the sewer rates, which they control, back to the 2017 rates also. We did that 2025, and we have not had to increase the rates since then. So people are paying a fixed rate, $9 for water, $9 for sewer. So that's $18 a month. The new rates that would have stayed in effect if I hadn't visited that particular area would be about $60 a month right now. So I think we've saved our ratepayers a lot of money, delivered the same services, and not had to increase the rates for 6 years.
Looking ahead, what goals do you still have and what would you still like to accomplish?
I really do want to get some jobs in the city of Lorain. Surprisingly, we have collected the most income tax money in the history of the city of Lorain. So even though we don't have the industry here, we have a lot of people that have moved into the city of Lorain. I went to a town hall at an area in Lorain called Morningside, which is right off of Colby Road by the hospital. Before I started the town hall, there were about 100 people there. And I said, so how many of you moved into Lorain from a different community? And 75% of the people raised their hand. We don't understand how many people have moved from other communities to the city of Lorain. And so we've increased our housing stock. A lot of people know that the cost of living here in Lorain is not bad. We have a lot of services, a lot of new businesses that have opened up in the city of Lorain, especially along Levitt Road and Oak Point Road. There's been so much growth. I think that growth is going to continue. But now we got to think about bringing in some good paying jobs to the city. And it's not always easy. It's a step-by-step process, and we're going to continue to work on that. We meet with developers all the time. And I've had some people coming in here. Last week, there were some people that came into town to visit a couple sites. Next week, we have some people coming into town to visit some sites. And it's a process, but we feel very positive about what's going to be happening in our city in the future.
How would you describe your leadership style? What principles guide your approach and what or who has influenced your leadership?
My approach is common sense. I try not to overthink things. I try to do what I think is the best thing to do. I was lucky. I ran my own business for 43 years. I never missed a payroll, always was able to provide benefits for my employees. And I think that my style is to reward employees for good work. So I've tried to negotiate good contracts for our city workers. And I think that if you let them know that they're valued, they're going to give back to you. Before I was the mayor, I thought, oh boy, city workers, these are not the best workers out there. I found out that there really are good workers. And 95%, maybe 98% of the workers that we have really care about their job. If I ask them to do something, they do it. They try to take care of it to the best of their ability. And so if you reward people, I think that they give back. The other thing is, I think you have to delegate. I think you have to surround yourself with people that only bring you higher. And if you don't trust the people that are around you and you try to micromanage everything, you're probably going to fail. I've tried to get the right people in the right positions and delegate as much as I can and encourage them when they do a good thing. And if they don't do something I believe was the right thing to do, I'm going to talk to them. I've also tried to have managers meetings every Monday morning. So at 8 o'clock every Monday since I've been the mayor, all the managers have met. I talk about areas that I know are areas of concern that we need to address. Sometimes I seem like a broken record because I'm bringing up the same things over and over, but eventually they get taken care of. And we communicate and we talk, and they know what my vision is. And hopefully my vision is reflected in where the community is going.
Outside of City Hall, what are some of your interests and hobbies and how do they help recharge you?
I like to walk. I used to be a runner, and so I started running seriously at 50 and started doing marathons, half marathons, and things like that. But it took a toll on my body. So now I do a lot of walking. I walk 5-6 miles every time I walk. And it not only helps me clear my mind, but it also helps me see things in the community. So if I see an issue, it's something that I can bring up. And I like family time. And I have one daughter, one granddaughter. And so I try to spend as much time with them as possible. My wife and I like to travel. So if I get a chance, my wife was a travel agent for 15 years, had her own agency, and we got the travel bug. So whenever we get a chance, we do like to travel.
Any good trips upcoming?
I may be going to Paris because I got involved with a group concerned with anti-Semitism in this country. They're having an international conference in Paris in November, and they've invited me to come to that conference. So I'll go to that conference. The nice thing is they pay all my expenses, but I don't go anywhere without my wife. I'll pay her expenses, but they're going to pay my expenses. And you get to talk with people from all over the world. And I get to go back to one of the great cities in the world, Paris.
Finally, where can people get more information about Lorain and connect with you?
We have a website, City of Lorain, and there's actually a button on there called Ask Lorain. So if you have a question, you can go to that Ask Lorain button, and we will record a video and answer your question. And the nice thing about it is that when there's a similar question that's asked, it will take you to that video that we've already recorded through artificial intelligence. So we're trying to use some of the artificial intelligence to cut down on employees having to answer the same question and using artificial intelligence to take them right to that video that we've already recorded. So if somebody has a question like, when are we going to demolish St. Joseph's Hospital? We've recorded a video to give some answers to that question, and it really saves a lot of employee time, and it gets information to our citizens rather quickly. We also have a see, click, fix, that if somebody sees a non-emergency condition in the city of Lorain, let's say a pothole, they can take their cell phone, take a picture of that particular pothole. That photograph actually shows the location of where the pothole is. So our city workers then do a ticket for that particular project and then communicate back to the citizen when that pothole has been fixed. So it's another type of service to the citizens that we can actually report back to them that we've taken care of something.
Thank you, Mayor Bradley, for joining us and sharing your insights.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the LorainCounty.com Insights Podcast. Each episode, we share conversations with the people shaping life in Lorain County, from business and government to education, nonprofits, healthcare, and entertainment. Be sure to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. You can also visit LorainCounty.com to discover local events, volunteer opportunities, and more community resources. If you know someone who's making a difference in Lorain County, send us a note at podcast@LorainCounty.com. We would love to share their story and insights. Special thanks to our producer, Leah Gerke, and to you for listening. This has been the LorainCounty.com Insights Podcast. Conversations with the people shaping Lorain County.